How are we doing? Hope you guys had yourselves a decent weekend. I know there are portions of the United States who are a lot happier than others about last weekend, because before we get into Monday's NHL Sniffs, I think it's really important to talk a little NFL for a second. You guys ever seen that movie Final Destination? Have you? Definitely a great flick. Great flick. Now, who knows? It could be one of those movies I go back and watch it, like The Faculty. I tried going back and watching The Faculty. I was like, no, you're going to like this movie. I'm like, wow, this is a lot worse than I actually remember. In thought, this is everything you ever need in a movie, especially like a late 90s, early 2000s horror movie. I rewatched it, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't as enjoyable as I remembered. A lot of stuff is like that in life. However, Final Destination, I'm willing to give that one a go and hope that it actually stood the test of time. You never really know. You never know which ones stand the test of time. But one team that certainly stands the test of time are those Kansas City Chiefs. And why am I bringing up Final Destination? Because this kid, he sees a plane crash that's going to happen before it actually happened. How many weeks have I been telling you guys? And I didn't want to have to tell Dave this, but I can see it in the future. Mahomes beats the Niners twice in the Super Bowl, and Mahomes beats the Eagles twice in the Super Bowl. I've been saying that all playoffs long. It's the narrative. I don't know if I dreamt it, I felt it, I sniffed it, I know it. And that's what's going to be happening. So those of you in Philly, here's the good news. I'd like to say I see your oncoming misery happening in 2 weeks. But the good news for you is you're always in a permanent state of misery. So that's good screw job prevent defense. You guys know I use that playbook. If you're permanently miserable, what's adding a little extra misery? Like there's this saying, a drowning man isn't bothered by a little rain. That might be a saying. I may have just invented that. Same thing goes for misery. A miserable guy. What do you think a lost Super Bowl does for him? Just adds more fuel to the perma-anger. Chiefs going to yet another Super Bowl. They will be winning another Super Bowl. Don't yell at me. I don't want them to win. I told you guys I'm going to take Bills plus 3.5 and the Eagles. Just because I want to be able to root for the Bills. But all my Super Bowl tickets are Kansas City. Speaking of misery, somebody was saying it's got to be. Can you imagine what it feels like to be a Bills fan after that? I was like, you don't understand. Go back and look at their history. Go look at all those straight Super Bowl losses. Now look at this stretch. They're emotionally dead. You know when you're like, I don't know, a teenager, girl breaks your heart for the first time, or if you're a girl watching, that high school boyfriend breaks your heart for the first time. What's more devastating than that? Nothing. That's as low gets. Then what, are you going to get a 20s heartbreak? What's that? That's like, 30s heartbreak? You may as well just be hungry. 40s heartbreak, there's no such thing. That's what happened. That's what it's like for these. It's like a zombie that's turned. Go ahead, shoot the zombie once, and he just keeps walking forward. Shoot him again. You take all those hits, they just start to blend together. And now that brings us here to Monday in the NHL. It's a decent slate on our hands. We have 5 games. You know, sometimes they throw us 1 or 2, but they gave us 5 this time. And why don't we start with that? We always start with Stevie Bong rips. One way or another, we always see Detroit leading off the menu. And we've been talking about that team a lot. We've been, the Kane assist with the DeBrincat point. Oh my God, you see it. Look at the prices we're getting on Larkin and Raymond. It's plus 140 again. We're back in. Well, guess what? It's not plus 140 anymore. We're back to the crusty prices on them. Minus 110 for Larkin and Raymond against a good defensive team. No, thank you. No, thank you very much. What about Kane and DeBrincat? Oh, well, Kane is out. They replaced him with Tarasenko. This all of a sudden looks like a one-line team, and you get no value on that top line. Guess what, Stevie? Sorry, for this Monday, I'm out. I'm out on all things Detroit, but who we got wheeling in? We're wheeling in those Los Angeles Kings. Now, I don't want to call it the fastball, because you remember the Suzuki Caulfield fastball? Just throw down the one. Oh, plus 125, point, throw down the one. Well, there are different kinds of fastballs. There's like a 2-seamer, the 4-seamer. What has been our 4-seam fastball anytime we get a decent price? You know what it is. Kempe Kopitar. They're rolling into town. Top line, top power play. You show me plus 125, plus 130, I will show you a click. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And then also, I got to admit, I am tempted by the second line because Laferriere came back last game, and you had Dano, Laferriere, Fiala, second line. Fiala plays all 2 minutes of every power play. I think I'm going to take a half unit sprinkle on that full second line. And why am I a little weary about it? Because you have LA, who's a defensive team to begin with, and then you have Detroit coming off of a 2-0 quality win, a low-scoring shutout against the Tampa Bay Lightning. What do I tell you guys about shutouts? I like a low-scoring game after a shutout because a team tries to roll over that defensive chemistry. So what do I see? I see some under 6.5 potential. Do you think the line is set at 6.5? Absolutely not. But as a famous DJ once told me, don't you know? Yes, you got to bump it up to under 6.5. What can I do now that I have this total at an unaffordable 6.5? Well, I try to steer clear of anybody on the top 2 lines or on the top power play, and I try to find a floater for under half of a point. We've been doing this rather successfully these last couple of weeks. I see a guy on each team. On the Kings, I see Warren Fogle, but I kind of like the Kings in this game, so I'm going to go to the other side. Give me JT Compher. He's on power play 2, line 3, under half of a point for him with the under 6.5 in this game between the Kings and the Detroit Red Wings. So that's what I got for you there. Now we will move over to the New Jersey Devils, who are facing the Philadelphia Flyers. The Philadelphia Flyers, who I keep talking about them as well. It's like, this is a pretty beatable team. Why are we getting a fair line for the Rangers against a pretty beatable team in the Flyers? Here we are again. I mean, the Flyers, they lost to the Rangers, lost to the Islanders. They're just a very beatable team. I mean, they're getting a little better year by year. And you have a quality team in the Devils, albeit they're dealing with that Markstrom injury now, going in there, and the line is minus 145. If this was the NFL, I'd tell you don't bet that. That's a rat. But like I told you, my uncle, when I was young, what did he say to me? Rats don't really live on ice. I don't stress too much about public underdogs, private. It's the NHL. Nobody bets on hockey in terms of the grand scheme of things. So when there's not that much at stake, I worry a little bit less about the whole rat factor. But regardless, 145, that's not... It's a good price in terms of who we're taking, but nobody loves clicking on a minus 145. So what can we do? Classic scam tricks to flip that. Just like last week when we took the Rangers against the Flyers and we said, just give me Panarin for a point. And then we got them at plus 105. I'm going to do the same thing here. All right, so who's the best forward on New Jersey? Yes, I know. You're saying Jack Hughes, and you can take him for a point. That will give you like plus 105. However, you want to know who Jack Hughes is playing with right now? He's still with Palat, but it's him, Palat, and Cotter on the top line. Why? Because who's the second best forward? Ooh, that's a tough question. Who's the second best offensive forward on the New Jersey Devils? You probably correctly are saying Jesper Bratt. Where is he? Why isn't he with Jack Hughes? Because right now he's playing with Nico Hischier and Stefan Nason on the second line. Their full second line is a power play 1 correlated unit. So when you ask me, in a game against the Flyers, who's most likely to get a point? Well, Jesper Bratt has a point in every single game since he's been on this second line. You give me Jesper Bratt for a point and a Devils win against the Flyers, that's how you can get that money line at plus money. That's what I like there in that game. Now let's look at some more tricky games. I'm gonna end with the most exciting one. So let's go to another semi-boring one because we're going to talk about a team who just got shut out and then another team who won a ass-clenching 2-1 squeaker at home in the Vancouver Canucks. Great win for them against the Washington Capitals. Now they're marching into St. Louis to play the Blues, who just got shut out, and this one reeks of a low-scoring game. What did that DJ tell me? What's that memorable DJ call? Oh, yes. Don't you know? Bump it up. Yes, I do know that I got to bump it up. I want to take that under 6.5 here. And what can I pair it with? Is there a sneaky under on half of a point? Well, the first thing I'm going to look at, there's a weird outlier, an isolated outlier on line 3. He's on line 3 by himself with none of the top heavy hitters. No DeBrusk on his line, no Besser on his line, no Miller on his line, not even a Garland or a Suter. I'm talking about E.Pettersson playing on that third line in what should be a low-scoring game. I like the under half of a point on him. Minus 105. You take that with the under 6.5, you're looking at plus 150. I think that's a solid, calculated way to get that under 6.5, although you don't even need it. I like the under half of a point on E.Pettersson. The only thing we're going to have to worry about is Vancouver connecting on a power play goal, but I think the juice is worth the sniff when it comes to that particular bet. Now, lastly, the most likely to be entertaining, a team that's treated us well all season. All iterations of this team have treated us well, and that is the San Jose Sharks, who are very exciting to watch. If you watch these games, you watch that game against Nashville, both games against Nashville, even the game against Florida, albeit they took a beating, still 9 goals were scored in total. And I noticed something with this Sharks team lately. The top 6, I think, is pretty cemented because both of those top 2 lines have showed great chemistry. I would see no reason that they should change it. And who are they playing? Are they playing the Florida Panthers? And at home against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Didn't we talk about them on Friday with the Ducks? It's like, look, they have the Pittsburgh Penguins rolling into there. You can score against that team. It's not like playing the Florida Panthers. Well, what did Anaheim put up on Pittsburgh? 6? So San Jose at home against Pittsburgh, I think they'll be able to score a couple of goals. In fact, I think San Jose is set up well to win here. Malkin left that last game for Pittsburgh. We know that they didn't have Rust to begin with. I want to call it a one-line team, but even that would, okay, it's a one-line team? No, it's a Crosby line team. Who else is up? Who else do they have up front other than Crosby right now? Pretty much nobody. And if that's the case with the way San Jose is playing offensively, I think San Jose is a solid home dog against the Pittsburgh Penguins. But do you want to know what's even better than that? Getting prices that are way better than that. You ever get jiggy with it? You ever watch Men in Black? You ever see Chris Rock get slapped? Well, depending on which iteration of Will Smith that you know, depending on how old you are, the one that I know right now is playing fantastic on the second line of the Sharks, and I'm taking him for a point in this game. He has points in back-to-back. That line, that second line of him, Zetterlund, and Granlund, I think 3 straight games, they're kind of piling up points. They have a top line with good chemistry, and now they found their second line with good chemistry. I like Will. It just sounds funny to say it. I like Will Smith for a point.
Getting jiggy with it.
It's a great price.
Getting jiggy with it.
And him and Zetterlund, who have same line, same power play correlation, that's over plus 300. I think it's like plus 350. That's a great line mate point parlay in that game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And that is what I have for you here on a Monday. Good luck to you. Yes, better luck to me. I'm sorry, Bills fans, that you had to take another one. What do you want me to say? Maybe one day I'll see you over on the Patreon. We can talk about it. It's patreon.com/Andy Francess. That's where I'll get out the sheets that are in the midst of another incredible month. I hope to see you guys all over there. If not, no worries. I will see you tomorrow for another round of NHL Sniffs. I look forward to it. I will talk to you then.